Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas. Welcome to Vision of Asia Voice of the Community. This Sunday, as we are meeting here on ITV Gold, here are the main stories. We will have glimpses of an important virtual gala to support Ekal Vidyalaya. In this week, we talked to Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parikh about farmers' bill and agitation. Veteran journalist Rohit Vyas walks us through the agenda of next president of USA, and we will also have a report on Bollywood Sunaharee Yadein event organized by VTNY. Mayor of Montgomery Township talks to us about surging of coronavirus cases, and we conclude with trailer telling us about A Suitable Boy by Mira Nair. So all this coming up right after these short messages. Stay with us. You're watching Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community. Let's begin today's program with a very special report featuring Vivek, Oberoi, and also Kapil Dev. They participated in an event to support Ekal Vidyalaya Foundation. The work of Ekal Vidyalaya Foundation is something that we all are proud of. It is supporting tribal students. It is working towards bringing education to their doorsteps, and it is acting as an complementary organization to the government school system in interior parts of India. So here is a report on this special virtual gala.
Ekal Vidyalaya is one of those opportunities where you're bound to see your efforts, your initiatives, see a fantastic return. I always say that this is, not an opportunity for donors, but it's an opportunity for investors. Because I believe that investing with Ekal is a karmic investment. You're actually being able to change the lives of millions and millions of children across our nation. You're being able to strengthen them with the power of education so that they can write their own destiny. And I think that is fantastic. The karmic return on investment is unlike ever before. So my only request is push yourself a little. Take that first step. Get involved with Ekal. Trust me, this is an amazing, inclusive, crazy family of 300,000 volunteers.
Bringing health services to the last mile is an important goal for Ekal Arogya. Advancement in telemedicine has opened up new avenues to bring quality healthcare to Ekal villages. Ekal hires local women and trains them to be Arogya Sevikas or community health workers. They are trained to provide education on health and hygiene to the villagers and promote a healthy lifestyle. The Sevikas are trained to use a mobile phone-based telemedicine toolkit. The toolkit helps triage common ailments. Villagers who need better attention are connected to a doctor using video conferencing, and then prescription is provided.
From locally available medicines and herbs, Ekal is promoting a healthy lifestyle. Not only that, people are also benefiting from the traditional Indian medicinal systems of Ayurveda. Through its various tree plantation programs, water body rejuvenation programs, and through its personal hygiene and waste segregation awareness camps, Ekal's dream of a clean and healthy India is slowly turning into reality. Be assured that as long as Ekal is in existence, the colors, vibrations, and all the foundational elements of India are protected and preserved.
So Ekal Vidyalaya is running on over 100,000 villages and about 2 million students. How do you see engaging sports or cricket on these villages to get them more active and probably get the next Kapil Dev out of those villages? What is your
I,
opinion?
th- I think it's very important for the village, giving them opportunity to play. And the education is the most important. I still believe that, and I feel that. And in villages, if we can change the thought process of teaching in a way, when you are learning, you should enjoy yourself, have a fun, and like sports is a fun, education should be fun, and that's the way I look at it. And I hope in small villages they give the opportunity to the young boys. Recently, a young boy Natarajan come from a very small, humble background, and he represent the country because he got opportunity to play. And that's what I think all of you and all of us put together have to give a chance to all the young boys and girls.
छोड़ो सजना मोहे छोड़ो हाय सजना दिया सी सुधाए सजना दिया सी सुधाए उठाए सजना दिया सी सुधाए सजना रहा मोहे मैया ना धरो भरना ना करो मुझसे मैया ना.
In this week with Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parikh, we talk about several issues. Also, we touch how farmers' bill is working towards removing middlemen in the chain from farmers to traders. But what is it that is causing the agitation? We also try to understand that with Dr. Parikh. Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas, and I have the pleasure of welcoming Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parikh in this week's special edition. Namaste, Dr. Welcome.
Namaskar, namaskar.
So, as we have started December 2020, many things are happening, and this is a time when we start looking back as to how far we have come and what all we have experienced in 2020. But at this point, I would like to begin by drawing your attention towards what is happening in India with respect to farmers' agitation. So, if based on your understanding, what are the provisions of this agricultural reform bill which has not been understood properly?
I think the farmer bills is a very good bill. What government of India is putting forward. Only thing is there is not enough communication between government and farmers. I think what farmers is worried about is this minimum security, price security, MPS or MSP, whatever you call it. Because they think that once they open up the whole thing, then the private corporation may take advantage, or small farmers can left behind, or farmers who has a crop due to heavy rain or heavy wind or heavy drought is not good quality, then the corporation has right not to buy that crop. And then what happens to the farmers? How they can recuperate their expense and money, what they spend. So I think that's what they are looking for. And they're looking for as a part of the law, not as a verbal assurance. Because unless there is a law, then they do not have any recourse. According to them, there's no recourses for them to fight in future.
I think in this context, government's point is that MSP was never a part of any formal legal structure, and they have not removed MSP. So they are trying to communicate it. And another angle with which this bill was introduced was that farmers would be saved from the clutches of the middlemen, who ends up taking away more profits. So why do you think farmers are not in a position to appreciate this?
Yeah, because I think what they are interested in that they should get minimum price of the corp, whatever corp is, and because whether it's a middleman or corporation, they don't somehow distinguish those two peoples as a different people. They think that might be the same same thing as it was before. But I don't know why government is not, if minimum price was there before, why government is not putting in. I mean, that is also another argument, flip side of the argument.
So there are discussions happening, and there has been 4 meetings between these farmer leaders or representatives. But let us move towards the location or the center from where this farmers' agitation has originated, and that is mostly Punjab. I'm sorry. So from Punjab, the way this movement has started is actually not the farmers who are being affected, because Punjab Assembly has already passed a bill which would make this not applicable to them. And so you want to think about it. And also we have heard and we have seen some videos on social media where some Khalistani support groups have also started becoming a part of this.
No, I think, of course, we should not encourage any pro-Pakistani or Khalistani group into this equation. This is nothing to do with them. This is our internal problem. And I think, I mean, as an outsider, what I understand by watching the news and the press releases, that I think the difference between government and farmer leaders are not that big difference. And that can be patched up without any compromising any principle of the new bill. So I'm sure government will have enough wisdom to come to some kind of good compromise.
So talking about compromise, and what we have heard so far is farmers saying that nothing less than repealing of these bills would be acceptable to them. But how this move forward, we will have to see. But in this context, I want to bring to your attention that yesterday only Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in one of his address, mentioned that reform is necessary to move forward and keep pace with the changing times and changing environment. And that makes a lot of sense. In this context, what would you say about the vision with which Prime Minister Narendra Modi has approached various issues, and Modi government has also tried to bring in some positive changes in the lives of farmers through these bills?
I think I agree 100% with the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, because reform should happen, and because of the reform, the whole system can be changed, and farmer will have more freedom to to produce the crop whichever is more profitable to them, rather than get stuck to old stereotyping. So I think Prime Minister is correct. I 100% I support him, and I think he should do that. Only thing, this, as I say, that there is not really fundamental difference except one thing. So and if government says that minimum price is guaranteed verbally, so why not to amend our law and put in the writing to control? I mean, to conclude the whole discussion or argument.
So there are some nuances which you and me may not understand exactly, but indeed that sound logical. If it is not hurting anybody, then why not make that change? Yeah,
right. And unless something we don't know in detail.
Absolutely.
Because always problem is in details, and we don't know exact details of the bill. But what we see on the news and the press, it looks like it's not kind of too far apart, and so that's the reason. Yeah.
Absolutely. And in this context, what we have seen even in New York, there were some protests in support of farmers. Even the Canadian Prime Minister made a statement. And the kind of narrative which is emerging, it is misleading. And it puts as if government is insensitive and Indian government is not taking into considerations the needs of farmers. Now, how to counter such, call them rumors or distorted information leading to this kind of detrimental narrative? What, being chairman of Parikh Worldwide Media and ITV Gold, do you think should be the role of media?
Well, I mean, here really this is a change of the law. There's a reform law, and therefore I don't think, I mean, media has a role, but really most important role is government's role. And government, what government is doing is perfectly good thing. They are doing it. They are doing it in the benefit of the farmers. So I think government, media should support the government side of the story or narrative. But only thing is that there is some miscommunication. Unless we don't know the whole story, there is some miscommunication between government and farmers. And so that can be, I mean, logically, if you think from outside, that should not be difficult to resolve.
I agree with you, and with that approach, that positive approach, I would say we can overcome all the problems. And talking about the problem of COVID and talking about the way these kind of agitations where thousands of people gather together and there are no masks, as you have seen in the pictures. So this puts another challenge for everyone, actually. So
that's true.
Your thoughts on this?
That's true. Any kind of gathering at this moment, time of the COVID surge, or second wave or third wave, whatever you call it, this kind of gathering should not be encouraged, and it is a very unfortunate thing to happen.
And in terms of back to the vaccine situation, where we are and what is the situation with reference to all that is happening in India for reaching to a vaccine to counter COVID, what would you like to inform?
Well, I can tell you about USA that probably tomorrow, I mean, day after tomorrow or Thursday, by late Thursday or Friday morning, you will hear the announcement that FDA has approved one of the COVID vaccine, mainly the Pfizer, and next week probably the Moderna. So those two vaccines will be approved by next Tuesday when we talk again. And so there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And first vaccination will start sometime next week, mid next week or end of the next week. And it will be done to all the healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, and so forth. And very elderly, those who are in the resident of the nursing home. And I think in first phase, they will get the vaccine. And then there will be plenty of vaccine for the general public, and everyone will get it, whoever wants it. And I would urge everyone to get the vaccine, because vaccine, even after vaccine, you may get positive COVID infection, but the whole idea behind vaccine that you do not get very serious disease, and that's what prevents the death. And therefore, I encourage personally, as a doctor, that everyone should get the vaccine.
So once it is available, then I think this advice would come handy for some of you. But Dr. Sudhir Parikh, before we conclude today's session, without disclosing your age, I would like to say that you look very young as compared to the number of years, as in the expression goes that the springs that you have seen are not visible on your face. Now that is due to the regular regime of morning exercise and probably moderate eating, etc. And as we move towards the new year, it will be nice for our viewers to learn some tips about staying healthy through following certain practices. Would you mind sharing?
Well, I mean, I strongly believe that one must eat healthy. Try to be more of a vegetarian diet than non-vegetarian diet. Number two, do the regular exercise, which is must and has to be disciplined regime, whether you do for half an hour every day or 1 hour every day, but has to be done before you start your day. And third thing, always understand or learn how to delegate the work to the other people, how to delegate the things, and that way you become less under less stress. And these three things always keeps you young. And the last thing is always be more social and be with the young people. So then you will feel young. And I think it's all set of the mind rather than numerical numbers. So I think I'm trying my personally. I'm trying myself, and I'm sure I'm successful partially. That I try to be young and behave young and look young and act young.
Absolutely, I'm so happy, and I think these are words of wisdom backed by realization through his own experience. So when we hear these words and these suggestions, I think they would definitely be helpful for some of our viewers. And I think I also personally take a few of these things sincerely. And as we move towards 2021, I'll try to be even more healthier in my approach towards the way I accept life. And as we conclude, your parting words for our viewers.
Well, dear friends, we are in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, but fortunately, light is, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Vaccine will be here next week, and vaccination will start immediately. And so whenever you get a chance to receive the vaccine, please do so, because by doing that, obviously you will have a better life in future, better life, and you will transmit the infection to others less. So I strongly recommend that each and everyone, whenever they get chance, to get vaccinated in next 3 to 6 months. Goodbye. God bless America. God bless India. And God bless all my friends, Indian Americans. Thank you.
You're watching Vision of Asia Voice of Community on ITV Gold. This program comes to you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays at 8 p.m. And we, as always, have a special weekly edition of Vision of Asia at 11 a.m. on every Sunday. We appreciate your continued support and love. Stay with us. We'll be right back after these short messages. Government is likely to change with the change of year in America. President-elect Biden's transition team is working with full force to discharge their upcoming responsibilities. Veteran journalist Rohit Vyas talks to us about agenda and focus of President Biden and his team.
Of course, we have to have you here because so much is happening in the nation and we're really trying to understand the politics of it all. So let's begin today looking at what President-elect Biden is doing. He has announced his healthcare team, those main key members who are going to lead the coronavirus pandemic task force, key members that are truly going to try to handle this pandemic. What are your initial thoughts about it? And before you answer that, I want to go over what President-elect Joe Biden basically stated as an agenda for handling coronavirus. He wants to distribute 100 million vaccines in the first 100 days after becoming the president. He wants a mask mandate for 100 days after becoming the president. And he also wants most schools to be open if Congress will provide funds. Do you think it's doable, what he's saying?
Yeah, it's all doable. He doesn't want a mask mandate, by the way. He's just made a request to Americans that from the day he is sworn in, he is requesting the American population to please mask up for 100 days and no more than 100 days. And he says it's to get us over this period, which is going to be a very rough period until everyone starts to get vaccinated on schedule. As to his team, the health team he has announced is superb. The health secretary is someone we're going to have to look at a bit more closely because he is California's attorney general who has been dealing with a lot of the Trump matters or going after the Trump campaign and Trump himself on various issues in the state of California. As to the other members of the team, they're all scientists, they're all professionals. You know Dr. Vivek Murthy, an Indian American, a very, very highly qualified individual from the medical profession, who's back in the role of Surgeon General. You have Dr. Anthony Fauci, who President-elect Biden requested to stay on with him and is now going to be his chief medical advisor for COVID-19, and probably will be retained for many, many other issues as well in the medical team. So a very good team as far as I can see. I think President-elect Joe Biden has been very systematic, very careful in the kinds of people he's been appointing. His intended defense secretary, also a good choice, someone he has known personally for many, many years, namely when he was vice president. And when the lieutenant general in question was accepting the handover in Iraq and was responsible for a lot happening in that region. The only thing is he's going to need an exemption because you are not supposed to be serving as a civilian defense secretary unless you've gone past 7 years of having been retired from the Army or the Armed Forces. For him, it's been, I think, about 4 years or even less. And so he's going to need an exemption, which is not unusual. That happened in the case of President Trump's defense secretary choice. He was given an exemption by the Senate, and it should happen in this case, but it could be contentious simply because the Senate majority as of now is in the hands of the Republicans, so they can tend to be difficult with confirming this choice of a defense secretary. But of course, it's historic because it's the first African American, the first Black American defense secretary, and a very, very significant choice in that respect.
You know, in his nomination, President-elect Joe Biden has a lot of, diverse individuals, but he's focusing on first of many. Could you explain to us why you think he's focused so much on first of many? Is it his way of showing inclusivity and dignity for all?
It's his way of understanding America, I think, better than most politicians have understood America. I think Joe Biden has worked with so many different people from so many different ethnic backgrounds, so many different colors, if you want to use that term. He knows everybody, white, black, brown, from wherever they are. He's dealt with so many folks on the international stage. So he understands ethnic backgrounds. He understands different types of cultures. He understands the different types of people. And therefore, he understands America because America is a melting pot of all these various cultures, these various ethnic backgrounds, these various people. He understands America, I think, like no other leader. And he's showing that in his selections of individuals to represent the diversity of the country. This is a highly diverse nation, a highly respected nation because of its diversity. And therefore, he wants to show that whoever he has in the cabinet, his cabinet, will reflect America.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. You know, you were talking about last time when we were here. We were talking about the nominations and how much they could be confirmed from the last cabinet we were discussing. When you're looking at this team, how difficult do you think these nominations are going to be in terms of getting confirmed? Which ones do you think are easier?
Yeah, some of them. Well, I think Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, is a shoo-in. She has widespread bipartisan support. There will be many others, including Dr. Vivek Murthy, who will be face no problems whatsoever in being, confirmed as the Surgeon General. I think there are many who are going to do fairly well. There will be a couple of them. One of them will be the Health Secretary elect. Nominated. The Health Secretary nominee, I think, will face a contentious confirmation process because of his having taken a hard line on Donald Trump. So I think he will face difficulty. The Lieutenant General, who is Biden's choice for Defense Secretary, will probably face a contentious confirmation. Most of the others, I don't think so as of yet. Now, all of this, don't forget, also depends upon the two runoffs that we have coming up in the first week of January in Georgia. And that could shift the balance of the Senate. If that happens, there'll be less of a contentious race, but there's also the problem that Joe Biden faces within the Democratic Party itself. And that's those who lean very far left, who are not going to be with his standing by his moderate trends or his middle of the road take, as it were. So it's not guaranteed by any means that you'd find a whole bunch of Democratic senators either willing to confirm some of these nominees. So he does face an uphill task. But as I've said, the overriding benefit to the benefit of Joe Biden is the fact that he is so good at reaching out across the aisle to so many people. He has that experience. He personally knows so many of these folks. He knows Mitch McConnell very well. They know each other very well. They do talk to each other. And that would be a key factor in getting these nominations through successfully.
Senior Community Center of Vaishnav Temple of New York hosted a musical program with artists presenting melodies from India. Bollywood Sunaharee Yadein. Here are some excerpts from that event.
विराजता श्रीनाथ जी यमुना जी महाप्रभु जी श्रीनाथ जी बोलो श्री यमुना जी बोलो.
This is like fantastic part of the life કે અત્યારના બી હું જોઈ રહ્યો છું કે 200 ઉપર લોગિન છે એટલે અબાઉટ એક ઘરની અંદર 2 થી 4 હું જોઈ રહ્યો છું એટલે આપણે લગભગ ઓલરેડી 450-500 માણસો અત્યારના જોઈન કરી રહ્યા છે અને that is a very applaudable thing to have this kind of community who is vibrant and very happy and enjoying their life. And I see everybody smiling face, dancing when the program is on. And of course, once again, Vaishnav Temple પરિવારના સર્વે સભ્યોનો ખૂબ ખૂબ આભાર. કમિટી
વડીલ છે મુકુંદભાઈ અને રેખાબેન પંચોલી અને તેમના દીકરા વિમલભાઈ અને નીતિશાબેન પંચોલી છે. જય શ્રી કૃષ્ણ. જે આપણા વૈષ્ણવ ટેમ્પલ અને સિનિયર સિટીઝન ઓફ વૈષ્ણવ ટેમ્પલ દરેક પ્રોગ્રામમાં હાજરી આપી અને બધાને પ્રોત્સાહન કરે છે.
જય શ્રી કૃષ્ણ એવરીબડી. જય શ્રી કૃષ્ણ નવીનભાઈ. ખૂબ જ આનંદ થયો કે તમે મને આમંત્રિત કર્યો અને તમારો તેમજ તમારા બધા જ કમિટી મેમ્બરનો હું હૃદયપૂર્વક આભાર માનું છું અને સૌને નમસ્કાર કરું છું. ખૂબ જ આનંદ છે. તમે ખૂબ જ તમારી આખી કમિટી એટલા બધા સરસ કાર્યક્રમો લઈ આવે છે સાંસ્કૃતિક અને બધા સિનિયર સિટીઝનોને એને લીધે લાભો મળે છે.
શ્રીનાથજી બોલો શ્રી યમુનાજી બોલો 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 શ્રીનાથજી બોલો શ્રી યમુનાજી બોલો.
તો એ બધી સંસ્થાઓનો પણ હું ખૂબ ખૂબ આભારી છું, જેમાં ઇન્ડો અમેરિકન સિનિયર સિટીઝન ઓફ ન્યુયોર્ક, ગુજરાતી સમાજ ઓફ ન્યુયોર્ક, બ્રાહ્મણ સોસાયટી ઓફ ન્યુયોર્ક आध्यात्मिक विकास केंद्र, इंटरनेशनल वैदिक विजन ऑफ न्यूयॉर्क, आरती फाउंडेशन, जैन सीनियर ग्रुप ऑफ न्यूयॉर्क, લોંગ આઇલેન્ડ ગુજરાતી કલ્ચર સોસાયટી અને લોંગ આઇલેન્ડ સિનિયર સિટીઝન ફોરમ અને ગણેશ ઉત્સવ ઓફ ન્યુયોર્ક, આ બધી સંસ્થાઓનો ખૂબ ખૂબ આભારી છું.
And I guarantee you that once they start, it will be a very pleasant night with a lot of fun and music, and તમે સંગીતની દુનિયામાં कुछ घंटों के लिए डूब जाओगे.
सत्यम शिवम सुंदर ईश्वर सत्य है, सुंदरम शिव है, सुंदरम सुंदर है. सत्यम शिवम सुंदरम, सत्यम शिवम सुंदरम, सत्यम शिवम सुंदरम. आजा रे
मुसाफिर हूँ यारो, ना घर है ना ठिकाना, मुझे चलते जाना है, बस चलते जाना. बहारों में नजारों में नजर डालो तो ऐसा लागे मेरी कसम, वो नैनों में भरे काजल घूंघट खोले खड़ी है मेरे आगे रे, शर्म से बोझल झुकी पलकों में जवारातों के फंसा लिए हो. चला जाता हूँ किसी की धुन में, धड़कते दिल के तराने लिए.
यादों से नैना लागे रे, नैना लागे रे पिया, ओह पिया हो पिया, आह पिया हो पिया. यादों से नैना लागे रे, जाने क्या हो अब आगे रे, नैना लागे रे पिया, तो से नैना लागे रे. ओ सजना बरखा बहार आई, रस की फुहार आई, अखियों में प्यार आई. ओ सजना
पुकारता चला मैं गली गली बहार की, बस एक छाँव जुल्फ की, बस एक निगाह प्यार की. पुकारता चला मैं, याद न जाए बीते दिनों की, जाके नहाए जो दिन, दिल क्यों बुलाए उन्हें, दिल क्यों बुलाए. चले थे साथ मिलके, चले गए साथ मिलकर, तुम्हें रुकना पड़ेगा मेरी आवाज सुनकर. चले थे साथ मिलके, तेरे बिना जिंदगी से कोई शिकवा तो नहीं, शिकवा नहीं, शिकवा नहीं, शिकवा नहीं. तेरे बिना जिंदगी भी लेकिन जिंदगी तो नहीं, जिंदगी नहीं, जिंदगी नहीं, जिंदगी नहीं.
तन सौंप दिया
निगाहों निगाहों में जादू चलाना मेरी जान सीखा है तुमने कहाँ से ओ लुट गई मेरे प्यार की नगरी अब तो नीर बहा ले अब तो नीर बहा अब तो नीर बहा ले.
While we are still hearing some cases being filed for voters fraud, but some people are looking at it as some allegations mounted without any evidence. What is the take of Montgomery Township's mayor? She talked to Aditi Lamba and she also shared her concerns about resurging of coronavirus cases.
When you're looking at coronavirus and also when you're looking at elections and politics, but let's start by talking about COVID-19. I'm looking at 15 million cases in the country, 284,000 deaths in the country total today. My question to you is, how are you responding to this surge of cases currently, and how is it impacting the Montgomery Township?
We're definitely seeing an increase in rates. We've had higher rates over the past few weeks than we had at any other point in the year. And we've been reacting by, obviously encouraging the public to limit their gatherings. We've done a number of videos and informational documents with our health officers, recommending that people not engage in any sort of indoor activity. The governor has limited indoor capacity to 10 people at any sort of gathering, and outdoor to 25. So there's a lot of steps being taken, but it's still a fact that there are a lot of infections happening, and we really need to all do what we can to limit contact that we're having with anyone outside of our immediate families or immediate households.
Yes, definitely. Mayor, when you're talking to these health officials, definitely, when you're discussing this with them, what are they attributing this surge of cases to? According to you and the other health officials, what is the reason behind such a surge that we're seeing, like in the nation today?
Well, to some degree, it's not a surprise. Everyone knew that this is the pattern, that generally coronaviruses of this sort are much more active in the winter months. And so it started really in late February, early March in the US. And so we had a few months of winter or cold weather where it was high rates of infection. And then in the summer, we had a bit of a bump, but it wasn't that severe. And now we're back into the normal sort of season where we have these types of viruses that gain a lot of infection rates. And the only way we could have prevented this was if we had been very strict earlier on. If in the summer we had limited contacts, if states had stayed locked down, but that's not what happened. And unfortunately, a lot of people still don't believe. They don't want to wear masks. They don't want to avoid gatherings. And, in New Jersey, even when we were advising people not to meet for Thanksgiving, I would see people posting like, well, I'm going to have 20 people over at my home. And now a lot of those people have become infected. And even though the CDC recommended that people not travel for Thanksgiving, the airports were still open. They were packed. I've seen the photos. So it's not enough that the CDC just put the guidance out. They really should have limited flights, enforced having the middle row be empty. I mean, there are a lot of things that government can do. It's just that our government didn't do it.
What do you think needs to be done when we're looking at, the upcoming holiday season? Christmas is such a family holiday. It really gathers a lot of people in many households. How are you looking at the next few weeks? What are some of the measures that you have to take in order to sort of curb the spread in holiday season?
Well, we are continuing to advise people to have not to have gatherings at all, actually indoor, and to even avoid outdoor socializing as much as possible. I think that people need to come up with alternative ways to gather, whether it is through virtual meetings, phone calls. That is what we need to do. And especially because we know that the vaccine is on the way. It's not like February, March, where we had no idea when or if this might end. Now we see there's light at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully there's effective vaccines. So we just need to stick it out for a little while longer. I really think that the federal government should be taking much stricter measures on travel, on enforcing testing, in temperature checks, but it's just not happening, unfortunately. So each of us individually needs to do what we can to limit our exposure to anyone outside of our household.
You know, Mayor, while we're talking about the surge of cases, I have to ask you, in your township, let's forget the state of New Jersey right now, in your township, what would need to happen in order for you to either shut it down or place a lot of curfews like we saw earlier in the year? What scenario are you looking at where you'll have to make that decision?
Well, I would say that in New Jersey, the governor's office has been pretty effective in, being very data-driven in the shutdowns that they've had. We do have cases going up, but not nearly as severely as some of the other states do. We still have capacity in our hospitals. We're not facing that sort of hospital system collapse that some of the other states in the United States are facing. So right now, as I said, the limit is very low for indoor gatherings and even for outdoor gatherings. There's been a limit on any sort of sports contact. Schools are very much virtual for the most part, or hybrid, in which there really is very little interaction happening in an official capacity. And when there are unauthorized clubs or bars, they are being shut down and they are being censored. So I don't know if there's really a lot more that could be done in New Jersey other than people just being very careful about wearing their masks at all times, not socializing. As I said, a lot of the cases that we're seeing now are from private gatherings in people's homes. And it's very hard to actually know if people are having 15, 20 people over at their home. So that really does fall on the public to actually abide by the guidance that the public health officials are putting out.
Definitely. When you're looking at state level and the federal level governments, it seems that there is a good communication and understanding with the state government and a little less when you're looking at the federal government. What kind of help does your township need directly from the federal government that the state government is unable to provide at this moment?
Well, the federal government should be giving a lot more money to both businesses that aren't able to open so that they can remain closed, and to the public so that people who really are falling behind on rent, there is rent assistance in our state, but that can only go so far. So what we really do need is for the federal government to step up and provide financial support for the public and for businesses, the way that most other countries of our level of wealth are doing. I mean, I think we see the types of programs, for example, that Canada is undertaking. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to do that in the United States, but we're not. We're just letting people fend for themselves. And we're seeing the impact of that in Montgomery, even with increased demands for the food pantry, for food assistance. It's very, very tough times for a lot of people in the United States. And it's in the federal government's possibilities to provide support, but they're not, passing that stimulus package. And then simply the guidance about the importance of masking and that this is a very serious illness and we need to avoid it. Unfortunately, even that message is not clearly being conveyed by our federal government, and that's very unfortunate.
When you're looking at the stimulus package, Mayor, do you know how much New Jersey needs from that stimulus package and how much your township needs from that stimulus package, especially for small businesses?
I don't have an exact figure, but I know that it's very, very difficult for our small businesses right now. And it's hard to tell businesses that they need to close when they're not being provided with any assistance to help them survive. So I think that, but it is something that has to be done at a national level, because it's not fair if one town closes down their businesses and the next town is open, or if one state closes down their businesses and another state is open. It really needs to happen at the national level.
Yes, definitely. You had just mentioned food pantries, and I was about to get to that question. What is the condition of food insecurity in your township? And could you also tell us about the neighboring townships? What is happening in that regards?
Well, we have had a huge outpouring of support, both financial and with in-kind donations of food to our food pantry that we operate locally. And so we have given out at least more than $30,000 in grocery store gift certificates. And then on top of that, lots of, food pantry items to a number of families in our town. Thankfully, due to the generosity of the community, our food pantry is doing fine. We do have sufficient resources there. But I know that in some of our neighboring towns, that's not the case, that their food pantry and at the county level as well, there's been such a huge demand for food assistance that they really are starting to struggle, and that they need a lot of re-upping of support. And unfortunately, the federal benefits for food assistance, like the SNAP program, has been undermined by the Trump administration, or there has been an effort to cut down how many people can qualify for that. Although I do hope that people do look into those sources of food assistance. We really, again, it falls to the federal government to provide this sort of food assistance, so it's not just falling on local food pantries to fulfill everyone's need for food at this time.
And now, before we conclude, here is the final offering from today's Vision of Asia, a look at new series by Mira Nair based on the novel of Vikram Seth, A Suitable Boy.
Your sister, my brother. Just look at my father glaring at me. I'm supposed to be next.
The key to a good marriage is to find a man who will give you the space to grow.
You too will marry a boy I choose.
Tell me more about yourself.
What is there to tell?
Everything.
Brazen girl. What would your mother say?
India is a free country now. It's trying to find a different way to live.
We are hearing a great deal about your son and a certain lady of repute.
I'm so much older than you.
You are the most beautiful woman I've ever seen.
We find you a nice, suitable girl from a good family. Have you no shame at all?
You shouldn't get too deeply involved.
You know Lata?
Yes, I hope to marry her. But I don't agree that we are controlled by fate.
And before we go, here is a time to remind you to be friends with us on our Facebook page and subscribe to ITV Gold's YouTube channel. Keep writing to us, events@itvgold.com. Stay well, stay safe. Do join us Monday at 8 p.m. on your own Vision of Asia. Till then, take care. Thanks. This is Ashok Vyas.